Okay, I think we're on air, which is very cool. Welcome to the Neck Profile. My name's Jake, and you probably know me a little bit through the guitar JTC thing and all that lot. Sorry for the rambly intro, but we're just getting to the hang of this thing. The YouTube stream thing is all very new to me, so yeah, do bear with me. So what's the Neck Profile? The Neck Profile is a kind of occasional chat and discussion between me and prominent musicians in the scene. Really, it's a kind of casual vibe. It's very relaxed and loose, and I just want to sort of really talk about life as a musician, talk about the journey of becoming a musician, and sort of all the things that are involved in that. Maybe looking at the things that aren't really all that much looked at in the guitar world, especially. Yes, there's no sort of playing; it's just sort of talking, chatting, hopefully having a few laughs and all that. But just trying to get to know, these musicians from a slightly different angle. Um, so those of you watching the live stream, hello and thank you for tuning in. It's a bloody pleasure to be here. There's if you're watching it or listening to it now, there's a live stream over to the right, where you can where you can see the chat, and that's where you can sort of send in any questions or comments you have. Richard Langard says, I have some insane delay of the sound going on here, Jake. Is it that bad? It might be. Let me just press pause. How about now? Is that better? We don't know. Anyway, I'll carry on regardless. Fantastic. Okay. So hopefully the stream is fixed now. Right, the gremlins of the maiden voyage. But hey, here we go. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Mr. Martin Miller. Martin, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. How are you, Jake?
I am very well. I'm gradually becoming more and more tired as the evening goes on, but that's just normal.
Oh, that's the same for me.
Yeah.
Because in fact, we talked about this earlier. We both suffer from a hangover, but
Yeah, I had a
that'll be part of the fun.
pub quiz last night. It got to me, I have to say. So yeah, look, I mean, I'll just quickly introduce Martin. I'm sure everyone knows who he is, but it's kind of de rigueur for these things, right? So Martin is a fellow Jam Track Central artist. Recently, you've become an Ibanez and Laney artist. Yes, I say Ibanez. Maybe it's Ibanez. Can you
Ibanez.
confirm it is Ibanez? Ah, so everyone who's been, making fun of me for saying Ibanez all these years.
I mean, we Germans, we say Ibanez, which is just as bad, I guess.
Or I guess if you were maybe Spanish, it might be Ibanez. Am I talking
Ibanez.
Ibanez?
Is Tony Martinez here? He can enlighten us. I had 4 years of Spanish class. It should be Ibanez.
Oh, right, I see. Again.
No, there's no the thing on the N is missing, so it's
Right, so there's
Ibanez,
no.
but the B is pronounced like a W.
Okay, and
Smart essing around a little bit here.
But you've also released an album, The Other End, which is awesome. It sounds great, and you should all go and check that out. And you're working on a new album with Tom Quayle.
Yes, in fact, yes.
How's that going, man?
It's a bit of a funny story. This a while back, we kind of decided to just do a couple of recordings of our favorite standards or fusion standards and put them out on a record. That was 2.5 years ago, when our rhythm section, which is all Russian, Anton Davidians on bass, Valery Stepanov on keyboards, and Ignat Kravtsov on drums, they locked themselves into a studio and recorded the tracks for us. And we pretty much got the whole thing like 70% recorded. And then everything just stopped. we started becoming busy doing other stuff. And just recently, I visited Tom's place for 2 weeks, and we started. Apart from playing a gig, we did pick up on working on the album again. So we're actually pretty far in now. It's just a matter. I think we need to record one more tune with the band, and we got to compose one more tune as a duo. So it's gonna be mostly standards, covers, but our own arrangements, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Plus 2 originals.
You do some really interesting stuff with that, so I'm really looking forward to checking it out. How do you find the sort of 2 guitar collaboration thing? Do you find it makes you play differently?
Well, I mean, are you talking about you got to specify that. Are you talking about the duo setting, or are you talking about playing with 2 guitar players in the band?
2 guitar players in the band.
It's kind of it's not really hard to pull off, because if we're playing fusion stuff, the way everybody's task is pretty much clear. Like one guy will play the head, another guy will comp, one guy will solo, the other guy will comp. Then it's time to turn things around, and the other guy takes over with lead playing, and the other guy plays rhythm. So it's not like we're actually we're working out parts that would fit together, because we assume different roles whenever we play together.
And I think that's really important. And it I mean, just from my experience, I did a gig recently with lots of guitarists, and there was John Wheatcroft there. Have you heard John play? John was absolutely crazy good.
Yeah, I know.
But it was he kind of occupied the bit that I would have tried to occupy if he wasn't there. But he did it so much better than me. I kind of changed my approach to become like kind of I just didn't want to step into his area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you kind of carve out your own space musically when you're in that environment with someone else.
What was that like? Was that a jam where you're playing tunes, or just jamming away?
We were playing tunes with about 15 other guitarists.
Oh, Jesus. That's the worst case scenario. Those things never go well.
Yeah, the tuning was an issue. It was really an issue. But that was this thing that my friend Milton Mermakides put on, which had like John Williams and Craig Ogden and sort of some classical guitar players.
Wow.
Bridget Mermakides.
Oh yeah, I saw a picture of that, I think. Yeah.
And that was utterly mad. But you just kind of, when it comes to stuff like that, I think you do sort of, you try to place yourself and position yourself within that environment, and it kind of you kind of maybe discover what you do a bit more.
I think that this kind of setting, I mean, it's so delicate, and it's such a sensitive thing. When having massive jams like these, you will run into people who just won't listen, who are kind of in their own world, when really your ears should be with everyone but yourself.
Yeah, and that's something I'm at pains to sort of point out to any students I have.
Yeah,
is that you want to be as comfortable with your instrument as possible, so that your ears and brain can be doing all the more important things.
Yeah, I agree.
So the subconscious stuff kind of kicks in.
Like somebody once pointed this out. Like, if you're completely in the music and in the flow, and you're fully onto it and fully immersed in it, you just assume the role as a listener. And you just decide what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear, what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of. It's like, absolutely, it's like more of an outside view. Just, I would love for the solo to build up now and go into a higher register, etc. And you just do that as a player. It just becomes a matter of taste, and a matter of where do I want this thing to go artistically, and not so much about, damn it, what was the scale for this chord that I'm playing over right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be it's kind of like I think it's a bit like cooking, which is a bit of an old overused analogy, but the thing you don't want to be doing is going out to the shops every time you need an ingredient. You want to have the ingredients all there ready to use. That seems nonsense, but the thing is, a lot of guitarists in particular, maybe they start to cook without going shopping and gathering all the materials they need.
Yeah, this might be the case. Yes.
So the food isn't as good as it could be. That's the end result.
That's a good analogy. I got to use that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of it's probably flawed in some way. I haven't thought it through. It's always the
I'm
way.
just thinking how to take this further.
Yeah, like the cooking utensils. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's the gear, right? How good your saucepan is.
And how good your oven is.
But I tell you what, though, the guitarists, they've got some fucking great ovens and some amazing saucepans.
And a lot of them who have great ovens don't have many ingredients, do they?
Oh dear, no, but you see, we're talking in truisms here, and the thing is, it's obviously it is the case. I'm not going to shy away from that slightly controversial point, but that's fine too, because for some people, and I include myself in this a bit, but gear kind of makes me happy in its own way, but I try not to get obsessed by it. And I was talking to my friend Sam on Facebook yesterday, and we were talking about all the excuses we make for ourselves, and often we kind of blame it on the gear. We blame it because our sound isn't right. He came up with a corker. Let me just see if I can find it. He said something along the lines of, yeah, man, I did, I was thinking today I'd love to sort of improve my tone, but I spent all day, rewinding my pickups for the fourth time and rebiasing my valves.
Yeah.
It's kind of that.
That stuff that has such tiny influence on your, not even your tone, but on your music. Like is the thing is, I don't get super emotional about gear. I'm a guy who thinks in practical terms. For me, it's really tools.
Sure.
And obviously I want to have great tools, but what I'm thinking is, if I'm going to buy a guitar or maybe not even guitar, let's say, and if this or that pedal or whatever, and it costs 500 euros. The question I ask myself is, does it make my music 500 euros more valuable? If it doesn't, I may not buy it. You know what? That's kind of my take on it.
No, I can appreciate that.
I know why people love gear, and because it just gives you, it makes you happy to just acquire new stuff, new stuff to toy with, and it does give you a motivation to play and to get to work and to do things. But there should be, whatever makes you happy. If you got money to spend and you love to buy gear, go buy it. But if you're a serious musician, you should ask yourself, what's the next step for me to take? Should I really buy new gear to fix the problem that I'm having right now? Or maybe I should go to the practice room some more, or maybe I should play live more, or whatever.
Yeah, especially with tone. I think tone is so wound up with the idea of money, and I prefer to think of it as a sound. The lo-fi thing or the cheap thing is a sound in itself, and you can make it work. You just have to sort of listen to where it can work.
Yeah.
That's that space. That's if the guitar isn't sustaining so well, or if your guitar doesn't have very good sustain, well, okay, you're not going to be able to do those sort of big Gary Moore bends and stuff. Well, look.
But some of the sustain even comes down to the fingers,
Oh, totally.
Oh, there's a chopper outside my window that drives me nuts right now. Hang on. Do you hear that?
What is that?
It's a chopper, helicopter.
It's a chopper.
Yeah, a chopper.
Yeah, get to the chopper.
There's a chopper. That'll make a lot of people on the stream happy.
Yeah, we could have done that for longer. I feel maybe we'll get back to it later.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess this might be a good sort of point to talk about, the Ibanez thing, and something that happened earlier, which kind of blew me away, at least, was that
It did blow me away too.
Andy Timmons commented on your thread with some very lovely things to say about your playing,
Yes,
which is
absolutely.
totally deserved.
Yeah,
But
he does it. He does it every once in a while. It's pretty cool. He does it with Tom too.
Mm.
I mean, he's a big fan of Tom's. I know that for a fact. But he checks a lot of stuff out that Tom does. So it's very cool that a guy like him, gives us some attention. That's just amazing, isn't it?
And it's cool for him to dip into the community, as it were.
Absolutely.
And be public, because that's something that takes a certain amount of bravery in a small way, and a certain sort of level of humility for him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not trying to be a rock star. He's just a guitar player like us, which makes it extra cool.
Yeah, and the received wisdom is that you kind of, I think this is like the old school of thinking, is that you should kind of withdraw yourself from the general public as a person of a guitar celebrity, let's say. But it seems like now things are becoming much more about community and about interaction with people.
It's a double-edged thing, certain guys who have a very almost mystic aura about them, let's say Steve Vai or so, who has a real star celebrity kind of vibe to him. It's actually kind of cool that he isn't doing that sort of thing, that he isn't like everyone else. He's like this what you call ethereal figure,
Yeah, he's
almost god status,
he's a mystery and an enigma.
Yeah, an enigma, right? Which is cool too, because I mean, let's face it, like when we were younger and we were checking out our favorite bands and artists, and there wasn't any social media or that sort of thing, so they were all kind of like that. And it's actually, and in some cases, it's really cool that they're not guys next door, because it kind of builds that myth around them that makes you look up to them even more.
Absolutely.
So it's both great, to have a guy you can to have an idol you can chat with. It's great, but it's also we also need those kind of celebrities that are in a way unapproachable, because we need to dream a little too,
Yeah, and but I don't know if that's a luxury that's available to us millennials.
Yeah.
When now it's like, I mean, I think it's fair to say, tell me off if I'm wrong, but you sort of grew to prominence.
Well, that's debatable.
Well, through YouTube and through sort of video stuff. That seemed to be pretty important, and that kind of thing, it's out there. It's no kind of mystery how it all happened.
No.
So I think it's hard.
Pretty
I think it's kind of harder for someone like yourself or even myself at my sort of small little level, whether you're able to actually sort of create some kind of mystique.
No, that's because I think that's barely possible for us, because guys like us, we're pretty much transparent these days.
Yeah, and approachable, which is great. I mean, if you look at the sort of success of YouTube and the rise of the YouTube star, it's become more about personality,
yes, very much so.
and content.
I think, which is great why we're doing this, so people can listen to us talk and they can interact directly. They hear our voices and they hear that we're human beings like everyone else, we're not just sitting around playing guitar all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Although that is part of it.
It is a part. Yes, definitely. No, but I think for us, it's who are chasing that kind of career. I think it's pretty much inevitable. Is it pronounced that way?
It's
I always get that word wrong. Sorry.
Your English is better than mine.
Come on. We can't go around not exposing ourselves. It's part of what we do. It's really important to do that, and that's part of the fun for the audience as well, because
when we exposed ourselves.
You know what I mean.
Yes, I know how fun that is for them.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean.
They can be part of our they can be part of our doings, right? Of our
Our
career.
journey.
Like they yeah, of our journey, exactly. And they can see it grow, and they can relate to us. And I've done posts where I ask people about advice on my playing, like on left hand stuff, picking technique stuff, and so they're definitely a part of the journey, and they can relate to themselves in a way, I think.
Yeah, I think like we all are. I'm a big fan of Tom Quayle's,
Yeah, so am I.
and I've been watching his videos for a long time,
Absolutely.
and it's been fascinating to see how he's developed as a player. And
Yeah.
I think it's been sort of, if you even, it's all still there. I really admire him for leaving it there, because I tend to be kind of,
No,
if I
I leave
release
it all
something,
there. I think
I
it's
want to get rid of it.
exciting. I think it's exciting to trace stuff back. And when the time when I uploaded a thing, I obviously deemed it as good enough to be uploaded, and it was a snapshot of that point in time, and I respect it as that, even if I think my recent stuff is better. But it's just part of what made me, so I just leave the stuff in there.
Yeah, see, the me of today doesn't respect the me of yesterday that much, right? That's the thing. It's like I in the moment, yeah, I might have thought it was good, but then I go, what was I thinking? It's like, what? Where's the timing? Where's this?
I mean, I cringe at some old stuff I've put out, or even if I just go back and listen to an old recording of mine that I thought that I had that I remembered as being pretty good. I listen to it and I cringe. It's just, what the hell? What was I so excited about?
Yeah,
Is that it?
But that's all part of it, though. That's the kind of part of the journey of sort of maturing, if you like, as an artist.
Yeah.
It's the I can see what I'd done then, and I can see what I'm doing now, and I wonder what's coming up next. And the worry is I'm very early on in this whole game, as you know, but I've started to do more sort of gear demo type things, and I've started to more live stuff is emerging that's not necessarily in my hands. It's not like I can just sort of get the webcam up and take 20 takes.
Yeah.
And
if you have other people in the room, it's different.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah, but you're doing well. I mean, all the victory stuff I saw, and the atomic thing you did recently, it was flawless. Oh shit! What just happened?
Oh, thank you very much.
Appreciate that. That was awesome. Just tapped my phone and it started making noise. Yeah. So that stuff was brilliant. I thought you nailed it.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's one of those, point a camera, play something kind of interesting, and go. And I think the gear demo thing is weird as well. That's another that to me would be another sort of like primary strategy. And I'll be quite honest. I think people are actually more likely to find out about what I do if they come at me for a gear thing, because the YouTube gear thing is crazy popular.
Yeah, I mean, because you can use an established brand name and kind of tag yourself next to it. And I mean, it's what I do with Ibanez and Laney, right? I get exposure through them, and it's fair enough. I mean, I've seen some criticism like, oh yeah, those kind of players, they're just out there to promote gear, etc. I mean, who the fuck are you to judge people trying to make a living playing a guitar? Just how it works, man. If I play a gig locally, there may be 20 people coming, and it usually is just on tip or for a very small fee. That's not how you make a living. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of that. It is sometimes a little bit cynical, and that's just the nature of the beast. But it's the game you play at a certain run on the ladder, and actually, not even at just a certain run at the ladder, any run of the ladder, you've got to you've got to engage in that world, and I can't really think of an
But is
individual
there anything
artist
wrong?
who hasn't done it.
And what's wrong with that, you know? And the thing is, I have a policy. I only promote gear that I'm genuinely excited about. So I don't have any sort of problem with that, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
What is there? It's a win-win. It's good for the company. It's good for me.
Yeah.
I inform people about stuff that I genuinely love and use. So I wouldn't do gear demos on stuff that I'm not using or not enjoying. That would be shallow or kind of hypocritical.
Yes. No, you're totally right, and I feel totally the same way about that. But I would hasten to say that I would do a demo, but I might not say anything if I don't think it's any good. But like I said,
Yeah, I
everything
mean
is in
that's fair enough
place.
too. If you're not, if you're like, you're in a situation like, for example, like Tom, who does demos at Lick Library for, and obviously he doesn't have any control over what the gear is.
Of course.
Probably the best thing you can do is just deliver the facts, the info about the product, and then play it, and then have people judge for themselves.
Absolutely.
You don't actually, like most of the demos I do, that if you check them out, I leave it pretty much to the listener to decide. I try to make the best music and the best playing, get the best tones I can from the kind of gear, and then it's up for the people to decide.
Yeah, totally. I did a Kemper demo recently for the Amp Factory profiles.
Oh, sweet.
And with that video in particular, there is one sound on there. I think it's the Vibrolux that we used, the Vibrolux profile. Andy at the Amp Factory is a total sort of genius when it comes to these things. His sound sort of designs are brilliant. But the Vibrolux on there, when I was playing like a Telecaster, and I just went, that sounds unbelievably brilliant. And it was that thing of just going, that could be off an album. That's already there. And I was so blown away.
Yeah, if it's a genuine moment, and if that's what you felt in that moment, and you didn't have to recapture it, leave it in there. It's fine. Yeah.
Absolutely, and but it's not always everything is kind of what I mean, and even the gear demo doesn't always show the potential of the product, especially if it's not in the wrong hands is the wrong wording, but there are elements to putting that sound out there that that change how successful that demo is. You know what I mean? It's not so much about the playing, and it's not so much about the even the sound that you're getting out of the unit, but the way, not that you process it, because obviously everything is, in these situations you've got to keep it dry, but just your the way that you set up your levels, the way you approach the video quality,
the presentation,
the rendering, and it's just getting all that stuff to the professional level.
Nice look, good colors, good angles.
Yeah, and people totally take for granted just how much work that is.
They have no idea. Like, we're gonna put out, I think tomorrow it is. I filmed a massive like advertisement movie for the new Laney amplifier, the L5 Studio, which is awesome. It's such an awesome amp. And we actually, it's going to be a 4.5-minute video or so, but actually we took 16 hours to film it, because it's like, it's made in 4 different settings, in the studio setting, in the rehearsal room, etc., etc. So that took forever, man.
But it's worth it. There's the other thing, and I kind of, what I say to my students is that I think it's a culture we live in, which is and we're all guilty of it, but the instant gratification thing, some people just don't quite realize, and this isn't bad, it's just normal, and it's the same with me with other things, but they don't quite realize just how much time it takes to do certain things. So for example, to record one tune to completion takes a long time.
Absolutely.
Takes a long time, and I think it's very easy to spend 10 hours on it and lose a bit of enthusiasm. But it's actually the guy or girl who will sit there and spend another 90 hours on it
That takes the cake.
that ends up doing it. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just having that bravery to step over the 10-hour mark onto the rest, kind of going into infinity. And it's actually the point at which you say, well, it's finished. And it's not
Yeah.
ever finished. You just have to let it go sometimes.
No, yeah, that's a skill in itself right there, to be able to draw a line and say, I'm done.
How did
Which
you?
it's so funny. When I made my album, I decided to mix it, and at the time I didn't have a whole lot of mixing skill. I just had a vision. I had a sound in mind, which is why I wouldn't want to let anybody else mix it. Because if you've heard my album, there's so many different styles on it, and in order to be merging those different styles onto a single disc and have a cohesive, coherent product, it required there had to be something in there that ties the songs together, and part of that is my guitar. Because unlike there's a lot of guitar records out there where there's a million tones per song. With mine, it's different. It's the same tone on all the tracks, regardless of the style of music, and that kind of ties it together. And I also EQ'd my record in a way that is very narrow banded, very mid-rangey, which is very different from the way I would mix it if I were putting out single tunes.
Of course, yeah.
But I had to kind of, for example, I have a metal tune on the record, and that I just recently re-recorded. It's called Forever Eternal, and the album version is not nearly as in your face as the recorded version I did. The reason for that is it had to sit with the rest, so I couldn't go all out metal on that one. I had to kind of bring it a bit back down. And for example, the jazz tune that's on there, I had to bring that up a little, make it a bit more in your face, a bit more bold,
Sure.
as a usual jazz recording. So I mixed the thing myself. What point was I trying to make? Yes. Thing is, I spent a year mixing that record, and now listening back to the demos I made when I started mixing it and comparing them to the final product, they didn't change at all. Almost, the differences are so tiny, like you wouldn't believe it. It almost doesn't matter now that I have more of an outside view on the whole thing. But at the time, it was so important to me. But I guess it's okay. I had to go through that phase. It was a learning process, and it's all good. I'm glad I did it, and I don't regret it. So
no, it's nice to have something, I guess.
It's a good album, I think. I mean, I'm still happy with it. Given what my budget was at the time, I think, given what my budget and my skill set was at the time, I couldn't have done anything better at that time.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's but I think it's different. I don't want to include you in this in any way whatsoever, but I think
my roommate just dropped a comment.
Was that
Clemens, my roommate? He just dropped a random comment.
God. Oh, well, in the chat.
That, yes.
Ah, cool. But sorry, I don't want to include you in this, but I think a lot of people, they're quite premature when they release something.
Oh yeah.
And they've done their album, they've done their EP in a sort of fit of excitement, and it's not quite ready, and it's like whether that will be buried in a couple of years. And I always wonder that with my own work, is that if I put this out, will I bury it? Will I want to bury it next year? It's got to be right,
this is such a double-edged thing. On one hand, I would agree that, first of all, you gotta hone your music, and you gotta hone your skill.
There's a balance.
Yeah, but on the other hand, don't be shy. Put stuff out. I mean, it's isn't it great that somebody, even if he may not be quite there yet, I'm not talking about you, by the way. If somebody may not be quite there, but they're trying to put out music, they're trying to make the world a little better. I think more power to them.
Yeah, absolutely, and they'll get better at it by completing things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But that's a different different issue. I think it's just the kind of releasing package. It's almost like someone, certain people within the community might just need like and there's nothing wrong with what they're doing, but they just might need a bit of mentoring and just saying, look, here's what we're dealing with, and I don't think this will help you in the long run to do that. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I'm a bit more paranoid about these things than most.
I mean, you should totally put out a record, man.
Well,
What's
thank you.
keeping you?
Well, what's been keeping me, if I'm being totally honest, is I've had a really weird work life. So I do. I used to teach at a university. So I taught at the University of Surrey for 4 years, teaching orchestration, jazz arranging,
Crazy. You crazy.
composition stuff, like no guitar related stuff. Like
Wow.
the students there have no idea I play guitar half the time.
Is it? Do you play piano well?
I play a piano appallingly badly, but I can get around it.
But you can read well, or
I can read better on piano and singing, because I was in the choir for all that time, than I can playing guitar.
Yeah.
Which is pretty embarrassing. But it's just that, you know, multi-value thing with the strings and the G and B thing. It just screws you up. It's really tough. But that by the side, I did that for like 4 years, and that's kind of stopped now. But in between that, I gig a lot. Like, you know, it's no secret, I do a lot of sort of function stuff, loads of corporate gigs, and
I used to do that as well.
Everyone's done it, man. Even Guthrie, you know, everyone's been there.
I used to do that in my college days a lot, and when I graduated, not dropped out, I graduated. Then I went into a big crisis of not knowing what to do, and at the time I was also teaching at a music school, and I became so fed up with it, playing those gigs and teaching at a private music school with pretty much very little payment, actually. I decided to stop that altogether and become really poor and start working on my music full time.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I was going with it. But the thing is it was keeping me so, like, I was working during the week and it'd be like bits and bobs, and I never had any sort of chunks of time to really go there. And I've moved around a lot. And you know, I've had a fun life, like in that time. I'm not talking, you know, but it's been less artistic maybe than my college days.
Yeah.
You know, where I had that time.
Yeah, and for me, I just had the urge to make music and to present myself as a guitar player. So I basically went all in, and so far I succeeded, which is just awesome. I mean, I'm so grateful for it, for having that opportunity. I'm super aware of how privileged I am, and I think there's a lot of people out there who would want to trade with me, and I'm totally aware of that. I mean,
oh, absolutely, but it's you know, it's well deserved, and I think that's
but you also got to be lucky. I'm very lucky and very privileged in that respect. So it's hard work, yes, but that's not all there is to it. You know, you need to be.
Sometimes you need to check your guitar privilege in many ways.
Yeah.
When you're talking to people, not everyone's had the same. Not you. I mean the royal you. As in, you know, people. We need to sort of remember that not everyone has had the luck of being, you know, brought up around musicians and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm writing actually my stuff, but I've actually booked myself 2 months off work.
Wow,
which is pretty ridiculous. But in September, so next month, I actually play. I'm doing theatre work. So I'm being Pete Townsend.
Yeah, in the arm swing.
Yeah, in Tommy's, in the new production of Tommy. So we got like a 3-week initial run of that, and hopefully,
cool. That's a nice gig.
Fingers crossed. You never know; it could do like a tour next year. But it is a very fun gig, man.
Yeah, cool.
Like and you know, the arm swing. Yes, I had to do that in the audition.
So you, sorry for the cough, by the way. I'm not ill. I'm allergic in
Oh,
summer.
I'll forgive you one day.
No, I gotta excuse for the audience because I guess it's pretty annoying. I'm which is kind of why I'm talking in a weird way right now because I'm struggling not to cough every other second. Anyway, so yeah, that's definitely a fun gig, and I'm assuming it's well paid too.
Say no more. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth
And
it.
you're gonna be on stage and you're gonna be acting too.
There's I I kind of go on stage a little bit apparently. I can't really confirm this. It's actually in my contract that I'm not really really allowed to sort of give any details about it. But you know, there's an element within it of the guitarist having a sort of spiritual guide role.
Yeah.
Which should be interesting. But that's the thing. It's like it's this whole game of you know, doing the musician. There's no one way of doing it. There are all sorts of ways. An awesome jazz guitarist I know, you might have heard him as well, Ant Law.
Yeah.
He does tons of sort of West End stuff. He's an awesome guitarist and musician.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, no one's immune from paying bills.
Nope.
And just the actual, you know, the guitar nerd thing is very difficult to make work.
I think it's even harder nowadays because everybody's trying to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no shortage of bloody competition.
No, no, it isn't. And I think, for example, guys like Tom, Rick, or myself are a bit privileged in that way that we started doing it pretty early when that kind of like career concept or layout was fairly new.
Yeah,
And
you're early adopters for sure.
sorry?
You're early adopters
Yeah, I
of
think
the system.
if I mean if we were the same player still but started out doing it now, it'd be so much harder to get the same amount of attention.
Absolutely. And do you found sorry, have you found that you have had to raise your game the more attention you've got, or have you do you feel, I mean, totally not sort of loading the question in any way, but do you feel that there's a kind of element where you get to a certain level, and this is kind of what Guthrie said, and then you kind of plateau because you're kind of there doing it and you've
Yeah,
just got to go and
I
do
mean,
it?
you need to, I mean, at a certain level, you need to spend a lot of time even maintaining that level, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, there is an element of pressure involved, and I think I talked to Tom about. I mean, Tom and I, we chat a lot, we hang around a lot,
Of course.
so we definitely agree that there is an element of pressure because a lot of people listen to us. For example, a lot of people will check out my videos. They may have not heard my album, so they check out my videos for some kind of wow factor or something.
Well,
And
that's it.
you kind of tend to fall into a trap where you think you need to deliver that wow factor all the time. You can't just put something out there that isn't super polished and isn't perfect and it doesn't have any insane thing in it. And it's stupid actually. I mean, you should just be yourself. And
Yeah.
but yeah, there's definitely an element of pressure to it, and especially when I started doing those videos, and eventually I realized, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to play my music live.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't want to disappoint people. Right now, I got a clinic tour ahead through Germany in September and October. That's going to be 17 gigs or so. And for the first time in my life, I mean, it's still more than a month till the first gig, and I'm already practicing and preparing for that every day. So I want to be really well prepared for this one. Usually I just go on stage and wing it, but for this one,
Sure.
I thought I'd be really well prepared.
Can you appreciate something that I've experienced lately, which is actually that preparation is a better word. Well, there's two things. Preparation is a better word than practice to describe what we do when we're at home.
Preparation as opposed to practice.
Yeah, because I think that practice is actually only done like a doctor thing. You know, you're practicing law or practicing whatever when you're actually doing it. but where everything you do before that is
Oh, I
preparation.
see what you mean. Yeah.
And then I would go further to say that performance is the maybe 2% of your playing time when you feel like you're actually in the zone, really doing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry.
But also with the preparation thing, I have found that there's actually no real correlation in a narrow way to how well I play
Oh
versus
no.
how much I've prepared.
Yeah, yeah.
I can be in preparation mode and be on stage and everything goes badly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I see
it's
what you mean.
different, right?
There's so many factors that make or break a live performance. It
Mm.
could be the thing that you've eaten the day before or something. It's pretty crazy how that works, you know. Especially if you're on tour and you have several gigs in a row, and the first two will be amazing, and you think it's going to keep going like that, and the third one is going to be a train wreck.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
amazing, isn't it? How that works. I mean, I haven't figured out yet how to be on on complete top of my game all the time. I guess it's an experience thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost tempted, following what we're talking about now, to sort of maybe get into more of the performance psychology aspect of, there's quite a lot of literature out there, like what's the one, the art of
Inner game of music.
inner game of music. Yeah, the inner game of. But apparently, I've heard the inner game of tennis is actually a better one to read
Oh yeah,
as
that's
as
where
a
the
musician.
theory stems from. Yeah.
But they were saying it's kind of slightly uh, better constructed. And also when you're reading it that way, you can make your own analogies rather than
Yeah, exactly.
having to sort of just go with the ones that
Well,
they've got.
I must have read 1/3 of the inner game of music. I kind of know what it's about, but I didn't put the advice that's in there into practice. But I can tell you, I did struggle from stage fright or general pressure one hell of a lot back in the day, to the point where before my college audition back in the day, I used to get nosebleed and threw up.
Oh no,
It
really?
was that bad, to the point where I could barely play. Um, Luckily nowadays I've just gotten rid of it, and part of it has to do with having played a lot of gigs, obviously.
Yeah,
But
you've practiced.
yeah, you've become better at performing.
Yeah.
uh, and you kind of you've learned, you've gotten to know your inner workings better, like what sort of steps, or like almost, it's like almost make it like a ceremony, like what certain steps do I have to follow in order to be in a mindset that allows me to perform well and calmly.
Mm.
Like I need to have a certain amount of food, or I need to have 30 minutes for myself, or I need to uh, walk through the audience and talk to people, those kind of things. You kind of after a while you figure out the stuff that makes you play better and be more calm. um, I think that's part of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you have the Pat Metheny Etudes book?
No, but I've read a couple lines because my buddy Levi, he has it at home.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Etude book gets a bit of stick on Amazon. I don't know if you've seen. They're like, what's the point? What's the point in this? I found it incredible, but the main thing, actually, the value, the book is worth its money alone, because it says that, Pat Metheny, who is God,
Yeah, yeah,
as
absolutely.
far as I can tell,
No, he is God, not just as far as you can tell. It's a matter of fact.
yeah, he needs an hour.
Yeah,
He,
Steve Morse is the same.
he
Steve
needs
Morse
an
is the
hour.
same. I've
Now,
talked to
I
Steve
look at
Morse.
myself.
Yeah, sorry. You keep
I
going.
look, I look at myself and think, well, I didn't practice for an hour before going on stage. Maybe, if Pat Metheny needs an hour, well, fucking hell, I probably need
Some people
7.
do, some people don't.
Yeah.
From my experience, there's there are certain guys. I mean, Steve Morris is a guy. I talked to him at NAMM this year, and it was just awesome. And it was
Yeah.
right before he went on stage, and he had the guitar in his hands. He didn't stop playing during the conversation.
Mm.
He was totally in the zone of getting ready for stage, and he's really big into it. And he says he's also he's coming up with etudes on the spot while he's warming up for a gig. So he's really focused and
Mm.
serious about warming up. And then there's guys who just, I remember when Guthrie Govan recorded the Late Night Sessions 3 Jam Track Central package.
Sure.
I composed those tracks for him, and I used that opportunity to go over to Jan Circa's studio in London and be part of the recording. So I checked out his recording process, which was awesome. I basically sat a meter away from him while he filmed all that stuff. And it was during winter time, and he would just walk outside, smoke a cigarette, then go inside and play and record. And there was no actual
Wow.
warming up involved. He just grabs the guitar.
Well,
I
he told me that too. It's like there's no warm up for Guthrie.
Nope,
He's kind of just ready.
yeah,
Which is
it's just different people.
utterly stupid.
Some people may need a warm up. Some people may not. It's just different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Absolutely. And the stupefying thing about Guthrie is that he doesn't need a warm up. He goes and plays insanely well.
Yeah.
And then he's not teetotal, because I can't really perform on a hangover. And you know what I mean?
I can perform with the hangover well, but not when I'm drunk. I mean, if I go a night out and have a gig the next day, that gig is usually going to be pretty good, because whenever I'm hungover, I'm in like a screw it all mode. Where
there's a balance.
I don't care. I just don't care, and I just go out and play. That actually is pretty cool. I quite enjoy that. but I can't have a beer and go on stage. I need to be fully sober on stage. Fully.
I find again, different strokes for different folks. I find that my head is very noisy unless I have 2 beers.
Really, 2 beers would be way too much for me.
But that's not on like a function or on any sort of other thing.
Yeah.
But if it's something where I'm improvising a lot.
Well, that's a different thing. If you're improvising, yes. But for example, if I'm playing a gig with my own material, there's a lot of difficult written parts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
And it's kind of semi. Some of it is improvised. There'll be entire songs that have improvised sections in them, and then there will be songs where I play even the solos note for note, like in Fresh Ducks or anything. That solo I play the same all the time because it's just part of the song.
You've got to do it that way.
Yeah. It's I expect it as a listener. I want to do myself the favor and play that solo. So yeah, definitely I don't enjoy doing that while being intoxicated.
Yeah, it's again, I've played with all sorts of different people, and everyone's got a different ritual. Everyone's got a different way of doing things. But
sure,
I think
if you make it work,
the thing for me is very much I suffer from noisy head. And that's just my conscious brain needs shutting the hell up.
It's like an inner voice that's talking to you that says, "Oh, that wasn't a good note. Play another one."
Yeah, or hey, Jet, you should do this now because you haven't done that for a little while.
Yeah. You definitely got to shut that voice up somehow, because there's no way it's going to improve your performance. It even comes to the point where I used to be so mad with that stuff back in the day. When I saw another guitar player in the audience, I would play a difficult lick, and then I was making sure he saw it, and if he didn't, I would play it again, and the music would just suffer from it. So the best thing is to be in a Zen-like state of mind, where you don't care about any of that and just immerse in the music, just contribute to the music.
I mean, that kind of performance anxiety. I mean, I found, because I do this thing called harmless funk. And I get kind of awesome. I thank you, man. I get intimidated with the guys I'm working with. It's like geez, man, I need to do my homework if I'm going to be playing with these guys. You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, yeah. I think that's something you should worry about when you're at home practicing
yeah,
or
totally.
preparing, but that's not something you should take with you on stage.
No, and I will point out that certain people make it easier than other people, and those other people I don't work with anymore.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Get
I
questions.
Yeah, I thought we'd open it up to questions, seeing as we've been
Yeah, sure.
going for about an hour. There was a question earlier on uh, about fourths tuning. Now, I'm actually I sort of looked at that, and I was watching the Guitar Hour yesterday
Yeah.
when I got in, as I always do, because it's bloody brilliant.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Tom and
Definitely,
Dan,
everyone check out the Guitar Hour. It's so much fun.
yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
And it's informative too. It's
The last one was particularly strong, I thought.
Mhm.
There was just so much going on, which was so on the money.
Yeah, and they kind of took a similar approach to what we just did with the performance anxiety thing.
Yes,
Did you see
yeah,
that? Yeah, it was
yeah.
cool.
But so
Yeah,
so we
Dan
so we're
is
gonna
actually asking questions, right? I know.
yeah. Well, we're gonna go.
Okay.
So slight.
Oh yeah, forced. Right.
Yeah. So force tuning. Now I'm slightly kind of wow, how do I say, to be totally honest. Um, I I don't know if it's almost people are obsessed with it. This force tuning thing, and it's like it's like it's a silver bullet. It's a bit like this this thing that's going to make everything all right.
Um, I'm gonna cut it short because obviously I think
Yeah,
the Guitar guys have got that thing covered pretty
it's
much completely yesterday. If you want to know more about force tuning, check out the last Guitar Hour episode. They had it all in there. So I'm gonna cut it short. For me, that is not an option.
yeah,
Because I'm way too comfortable thinking in standard tuning now. It was just confused the hell out of me. And second of all, I just like the tradition of the guitar too much. There's too many things that are idiomatic. Is that the right word?
idiomatic. Yeah, it's a perfect word.
Idiomatic to the guitar that would fall short if I were to tune in force tuning. So I want to be able to do the SRV, and I
Yeah,
want to be able to do the Brent Mason, and I want to be able to do some of the classical things, etc. So, or folky things, or whatever, or just the bloody old E5 chord, with the open strings ringing into it. I'm just too attached to those things to let them go.
I very much am, and I'm like I know guys who do the force tuning thing, and they're incredible, and it obviously doesn't harm their music, but because of the like I said, the bread and butter nature sometimes of the work means that would be an obstacle for me.
And as well as teaching.
Yeah, totally, and I think I totally admire the brave artistic statement made by going, well, look, this is going to work better for me, and I'm comfortable leaving that stuff by the wayside. But that's the thing. But then I think the thing is, what I'm trying to articulate with the stuff at the beginning was there are a couple of things that kind of fall into the guitar player's silver bullet. You know what I mean? And it's like the force tuning thing is a little bit of that sort of silver bullet. It's kind of like the XFX versus Kemper thing, whereas people would be much better working on their rhythm.
Okay, yeah.
I just get
Well, I
frustrated
don't know.
by that.
There's no harm in trying, right? If it helps you, go for it. If not, you can do a lot of good music in standard tuning. Believe me.
Yeah, totally. And I just think it's I think certain things it's all about asking the right questions, progression in music in many ways. It's all about getting given good advice
Mm-hmm.
and about taking the good advice you get. Um, but again, not everyone is as privileged to have been sort of surrounded by the right people giving you the right advice.
Sure, which is why we're doing this stream.
Yeah, yeah. But with that particular, with a couple of these issues, and again, I mean, no offense to anyone with it, but I do get frustrated with almost being asked the wrong question, because you kind of go, look, go back to the fundamentals, things that sound nice.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say, you'd have to look at each one individually who's asking that question.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, that's you're absolutely right. That if a guy who can't string two notes together and has no time is worried about whether to do false tuning, whether XFX or Kemper is the right thing. I mean, we're kind of back there, but I'm aware I probably sound a little bit like a snob, but it is one of those sort of, if you're a brilliant guitarist and you're thinking, well, look, maybe this fourth thing will work better for my ear, which is totally logical.
Yeah.
Then that's a valid question, but I think it's kind of at that point, and we all ask these premature questions, and it's I'm not saying the questioner is premature in when they're asking it, but
he didn't even ask whether he should tune in fourths. He asked whether I tried it. The answer,
sure.
No, and I have no desire to do so.
I tried it.
Oh yeah, and
yeah,
how did you find it?
I was very close to being seduced by it.
Wow.
But just because of the logic and and it was better for my ear. The consistency of the shapes was helping me, but like you put way more succinctly than I could, the tradition of the instrument kind of took over.
Yeah. And you're a blues-based guy more than I am, which is very much about the guitar, that kind of music, right?
Well, I mean, yeah.
It's one of the types of music where you're supposed to sound like a guitar player, whereas in jazz you're supposed to sound like a piano or horn player.
Yeah, you're totally right, and it's that strat thing, it just happens.
Yeah.
But that's the noise one hears in one's head. But anyway, let's move on. Yeah. So Dan, the Guitar Hour guy,
Dan Smith of Guitar Hour fame.
Yes.
How you doing, Dan?
And Dan's great.
He's awesome.
The thing that Dan asks here is an interesting one. With the function gig, or with the let's just say covers gig, really. How sympathetic to the material am I? How much of yourself do you let off the leash? I often find myself sort of starred into the corner. I actually, I pride myself on trying to get very close to the record.
Same as me.
That's just a strategy that's worked for me, and I will learn a solo if I've got time, and as a dep, I principally make my living playing as a dep guitar player, so standing in for other people.
I take those, or if it's a non-profile gig, if I'm not advertising myself through it or promoting myself through it, I actually use it as kind of an exercise to get as close to the original as possible. Like starting from the choice of gear, the tone, the playing, the vibe, the small details in phrasing, etc. It's just fun. It's a learning thing,
It's really good practice.
Curious. Yeah,
it's really good practice. Like and the things that it sorts out are things like it helps your ear develop, it helps your time, it helps all sorts of things. If you play along to records and you try to get really close, that will help you more than a lot of the other sort of practicing strategies that are posted up.
Because you apply the things you practice immediately.
Yeah, absolutely, and
part of the music.
Yeah, totally. And it's this backing track culture that can be helpful, can also hold people back if they're not aware of certain things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so but I'm saying that playing along with a tune that's sort of going on as well. Like I did it with all sorts of people. You know, John Mayer, Dream Theater. That was kind of those were the guys that were important to me at my when I was doing the majority of my learning.
Yeah.
But I was copying them and I was playing along. But when you're just sort of improvising and noodling along to a backing track, and you actually give yourself a pretty long leash, which is good, which is good sometimes, but it often means that you don't have to sort of worry about sort of creating high quality music.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to articulate that any better.
And it's like there's this saying, it's like the dictatorship of freedom. You know, if there's too many options, too many things to do, it actually that doesn't usually yield the best results.
Yes, Stravinsky quote. I'm going to pull one out.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. Well, okay, I won't say it then.
I just know it in German, but it's going to be like good composers borrow, great composers. No,
that's not the one actually. No, the Stravinsky quote that I had was about limitation and stripping down.
Limitation is freedom. I don't know.
Yeah, like it
Martin Miller,
essentially.
2015.
Yeah, no, but it can't. No, by using limitation, you sharpen your skills, and you also it also gives you more freedom because you're not worried about all this other garbage that you could do.
It applies to so many things in life. I just had a little promotional photo shoot for a Laney ad that we're doing for magazines, and when we came to the set, my buddy, the photographer, was actually appalled at how small the set was. So there was barely any space for me and my instrument plus the amp. But the photos he made, they turned out to be so amazing. And I told him, you know what? You had to make this work. That's why it's so great. Yeah. We didn't have 10,000s of options to go to. You had to make this one thing work, and he did. So same applies to music, definitely.
Yeah, it's that the opportunity to be resourceful is often better than the opportunity to just use all the resources.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Wise words spoken right there.
Yes. I just came out of that. That's just
awesome. You should totally get a patent for that or something.
Yeah. But the problem is if I really think about it, those two things are the same thing. That's what resourcefulness means. But I think when we say resourceful, we mean that you're using limited resources, right?
Yeah.
But
we got pretty off question here.
Oh, go on. Do you want to deal with this one?
Yeah, let's do the next one. So we got everyone's questions done.
Yeah.
Martin, how do you set your guitar straps so that you can comfortably play standing, even if the length isn't right where the practice position is? Yes, it's kind of a trade-off. It hasn't so much to do with the height of the strap, because you can set the strap to a height where it matches your sitting position. But I find if you put your guitar on your right leg, like I do, the guitar is at a different angle. And when you stand up, the guitar will naturally go or balance out. And the problem is you have to either use your right forearm or your left hand to bring the guitar into a position that is similar to the position when you're sitting down. So that's actually the problem. Has to do with, I especially find that on guitars that are contoured like Strats, that it's going to, first of all, it's going to face upward a little bit, which is strange when you're standing up, and it's balancing out to the left as opposed to the right, where I like to lean it. So it has a lot of things to do with the angle. I even thought of putting something between me and the guitar to keep it in a position where that is more similar to the sitting position. But you know what? I stopped giving it too much thought, because it kind of held me back. Nowadays, I can pretty much play anything. I can play sitting down, standing up. The moment I stopped worrying about it so much is when I when I became better at it. I don't know.
Uh,
How do you see that?
Wise. That's the thing. That whole not thinking thing again rears its ugly head. It's all
Yeah,
about not thinking. It's about not thinking there's an obstacle. There is no fucking spoon, to quote the Matrix.
Matrix.
And I think I paraphrase. There might have been an error in there somewhere.
I didn't. I don't think the little child said "fucking," but
No, but it would have been a
I have
better
to
movie.
rewind the movie.
Yeah. No, deja vu. There you go. My approach to that particular issue is pretty much the same as your last bit. Is as long as it doesn't feel uncomfortable, it's okay. But I don't play like as technical music as you do on your gigs.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
No, but
great
it's
chops.
well, too kind, man. But it's one of those things where it's more to do. Those are things that are improvised-ish that I'm comfortable-ish with. It's not like I'm playing like like Meshuggah or something, right? And I find that the strap length and the playing standing up thing. I actually, if I was to have this conversation, I would say that one of the things that I found interesting in my own playing is how movement helps me, and how I need to not worry about what faces I pull. I know I pull it, but I need to not think about it. I need to not worry about it, and I need to kind of let my body embody the music a little bit. If I'm standing very rigid, I find that my music suffers.
I think if you move around a little bit, it allows yourself to get into the music some more.
Yeah, it's like a trance thing. It's
Yeah.
really hard to sort of explain, but if you just sort of explore, if you just let your feet go back and forward and explore the space, there's like a kind of deep rhythm to that. Not like rhythm is in cat 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 cat,
Yeah.
no. But there's a kind of
Resonance.
primal subconscious rhythm that you tap into a little bit, and it allows you it allows me to sort of to turn the brain off a bit, which is something
Music has so much to do with movement. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, totally. And embodying the music really helps you express that. And that's the thing with Steve Vai as well. That
oh my god, I was just gonna say that. Like he's the master of that, right?
He totally embodies it. Totally.
Absolutely. It's like he is the music.
Yeah.
I think that's why he's so successful, and that's also why a lot of non-guitar players engage in what he does. It's because it helps them, because they may not understand the language of the guitar, but they do understand body language.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the same like when I see a really great conductor like Sir Simon Rattle or so, and they play a piece of music, and I may not get it if I just listen to it, but as soon as I hear him embody the music, I know what it's trying to, or I think I understand what it's trying to express.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is there again, horses for courses. There are different sort of schools of conducting. If you look at Pierre Boulez or Ollie Nussin, they are much more contained in their expression. They kind of want to be more communicative in terms of precision, and allow the players to interpret the music and allow the players to do that. But Simon Rattle is particularly hammy when it comes to that stuff. But that's his practice. And it's not fake. It's not a I need to
natural.
Yeah, it's not like
it's not a show.
There are schools of thought though, where especially in the sort of in England, it's like Guildhall and Royal College and the Royal Academy, where pianists are taught that they shouldn't allow themselves to do that, and then some people are taught that they really should, and that's where you get the extroverted expression on the face.
The lang.
Oh yeah, I mean it's I think there's a level to that which is so pretty to look at, but it's
and then there's the fine line.
Yeah, but it's practiced. It's practiced, and it comes across to me at least
Yeah.
You know, as a little bit cynical, you know, and I'm totally happy to withdraw that statement if I ever sort of had the opportunity to meet them and see that that's just kind of how they are. But that kind of how it comes across to me. But it's one of those kind of areas. I think embodying music is important, and I think that it's to be insecure about how you look when you're expressing yourself is.
And I mean, with the style of music that I play, there's not a lot of, like, if I'm playing a fusion gig, it's not so much about moving or putting on a show. Like, if somebody complains online they're not moving enough, that's just silly, because like, if you see one of the greatest bands in that field, like the Chick Corea Electric Band, that stuff is not so much about how they move or how they engage with the audience. It's just about the aura those people create by playing so well and by being confident about it.
Sure.
It's just tiny things that makes that kind of performance. How did we get from strap height to that?
Well, the strap height thing for me was is that the guitar is not a stationary thing in my hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of what that's kind of what I was getting at there. And I think a lot of the issues around strap height concern that sort of level of precision. And I kind of was just ducking out of the thing where I don't worry about it too much. There's no science to it for me, but then for other guys, you know, there might be. I think especially true of maybe even the sort of gent thing, where I think I can imagine that the angle at which you're connecting with the instrument is actually really important. You know,
just if you're playing 8-string guitars that are massive.
Yeah, totally. Right. Should we do another question?
Gent.
Lovely. Groove. So the Leonardo Guzman, who's an awesome guitarist.
We skipped a question, I think. No.
Oh, did we? I was just looking at that one.
Control, as Rick Graham knows. One of the most important things in technique. Choice of pick and string gauge. Same with the short scale guitars like LP. Yeah, I think part of it has to do with your choice of instruments. But mostly that is totally a technique thing to me. Tension control, I think it has a lot to do with, you know, I go through this with my students when we talk about technique. Like, I can show you the general principles of a technique, but you actually have to execute it and practice it. And how do you do that? How do you find the right way for you to do it? And the answer, in my opinion, is you have to start listening to the way your body responds to what you do. Like, for example, I would practice so slow, like disgustingly slow, to the point where I have complete control over all the digits on my left hand or my right hand, or my shoulders, the angle of my legs, etc. And then I would just try to focus as much as I can on what my body tells me. Like, for example, there's tension in my pinky. All right, how do I lower that tension? Maybe I should try. I don't even have to put it in words. I'm just trying to alter the movement or the position of my hands and my body in a way that removes the tension of my pinky. But the thing is, don't just grab the instrument when you're practicing technique and play and shred. Try to understand and interpret the signals that your body is sending you, because your body has a natural tendency to do the right thing.
Totally.
I think.
And the, you know, using your conscious brain too much in that scenario will lead to tension, because you're trying to control. What you want to do is to not think about it again. I'm sounding like a broken record, but it's very much that sort of working on things so much that they become a subconscious automatic process.
Yes, but how do you it's kind of inevitable, to use that word again, because at one point you got to put the work and the thoughts into it, right?
Totally. There
of course, ideally you want to be letting go of those as soon as you perform, but yeah, that's difficult, I guess.
Do you play any sport?
No,
you're not a sports
I'm
person.
not I used to play football and do some karate, and
right
that was long ago. Now I'm I'm just growing fat. No, I'm actually I'm gonna work out a little bit soon, but I'm not doing actual sports. No,
But I
which is
think
bad, I guess.
the analogy is I've started over the last couple of years, just because I've got friendly with people who do it a lot, and it seemed like good fun. I started playing golf,
Oh yeah,
and golf is one of those impossible things to do. Actually, is to
it
put a
looks
ball
so
that's
easy, but I'm assuming it's painfully hard.
but I wish I'd started sooner, because the kind of things it teaches you as a sport, almost about like Zen,
Hmm.
would have helped me so much playing guitar. I can't tell you just the way in which the golf swing is so great golf swing is so beautifully controlled, but it's also that don't think about it when you step up to the ball. There is a preparation, a practice swing, and there is an address,
That's the
and in
famous
that
Charlie Parker
address,
quote where he says, "You learn anything you can about music, absorb it, and then forget about it and then play."
yeah, yeah, totally. And I think that lesson it can't be overestimated, especially well, I mean, we're talking about improvising really, and performing other things, but it's that way of developing a kind of elegance to what you do, and even down to your posture,
Hmm.
things like that. Those things all make a bigger difference than people realize.
Oh yeah.
To such an extent that I sometimes go into that in my lessons, especially with younger guitarists who tend to sort of just have the guitar on their lap and it's all sort of rolling over there. It's like, well, no, you've got to sort of sit up straight and really be with the instrument in a serious physical way.
Hmm.
But it's one of those really important aspects to the craft that I think go unappreciated, and that's where Troy Grady comes in and starts to really put the magnifying glass on it.
Which
And
is awesome. I mean,
oh
he's a
man,
pioneer because those kind of things, those kind of observations, are pretty much standard with any other instrument out there, especially classical instruments. And the electric guitar is so young in that it's such a young instrument. And there's just so much to be discovered about the way the technique and should be approached, right? The thing is,
totally,
though, the
totally.
guitar, the electric guitar is such a diverse instrument. Um, a certain technique that suits itself for SRV type playing may not suit itself for Holdsworth type playing,
Yeah,
because there's so many different schools of playing, and those schools came about because those people because SRV's playing style or Hendrix's playing style and his music were influenced by the fact that he had the thumb over his neck.
yeah, totally. And there is no with guitar. It's fascinating because there is no single line of pedagogy like other instruments have had
No, because that's
for
what
all
I
these
said.
years.
Because actually, we shouldn't be talking about the electric guitar, but we should be talking about electric blues guitar, electric jazz guitar, electric rock guitar. It's because
Mm.
they're almost different instruments. The sound is different, the gear is different, the techniques involved are different.
Yeah,
It's
to disagree with you slightly though, not to disagree with you, but to sort of put an attachment on that comment. I,
Mhm.
I would I would add that the you're totally right, but the thing is that the modern day guitarist,
Oh yeah, he has to be able to do it all.
let's call it the post Guthrie guitarist.
No, let's not call it that. I love
um,
country, but
yeah, no, it was only a half joke, but you know what I mean.
good.
Um, but the uh, you kind of feel that you have to do everything, and that one technique suits all, and actually I found that you can't really play like George Benson unless you adopt some of the way that he addresses the instrument.
Absolutely, and it's not just about the instruments. It's also about who George Benson is and what his way of life is and what a person he is and how he was brought up. And if you're not having that sort of background, you're just faking it. And the original is always going to be so much better.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean,
Um,
it's
that you've kind of I in the PDF thing you sent me, you mentioned about talking about some good advice that was given to me, right?
oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I
So
might
what's a
cite that. Now may be a good point in the conversation, because there's this absolute genius quotation from Steve Vai, who says, "I ignore my weaknesses and I cultivate my strengths."
mm,
And that's just the best lesson out there. I mean, you know, would you rather be able to do three completely different things, all half-assed, or would you want to be at the pinnacle in one thing? For me, the answer is easy, because I went kind of through an identity crisis in college, because there were so many influences, and I got so much input from all kinds of sides, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to sound like.
mm,
If I was going to be a fingerstyle player, or if I was going to pursue classical guitar more, and if I wanted to be a hardcore jazz player or whatever. And it led to the result that if I listen to my exam concert now, which was in 2010, I just listened to a guitar player who doesn't know what he's wanting to do, and who's not great at a single thing.
mm.
And luckily, I find my niche, and finding that niche also means to abandon a lot of stuff that you like and let other people do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you're talking like an artist now. That's the thing. No, but I would say that that there's the kind of jobbing
Oh,
professional.
by the way, yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. But I would just define strengths being good at one thing differently.
Mm.
If you're a bread and butter gig kind of guy, then your one strength is that you can fit in everywhere,
Which is a huge strength.
which is a huge
Yeah.
strength. Yes. So I would still go with the Steve Vai quote. I would just widen the definition of being good at one thing.
No, yeah, that kind of works, doesn't it? Then,
Yeah.
so it's quite narrow-minded of me. I'm very sorry.
No, not at all. Because I was thinking about this. How would you explain someone who's doing a lot of those kind of gigs? But if you're great at doing all kinds of gigs, then that's yours. That is your specific strength.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you know, one thing I've noticed lately is that, well, for some gigs, you're just going to be spending a lot of time with people, and sometimes the best thing you can be is just all right to spend time with. If a gig doesn't need you to be just sort of super chops monster Holdsworth, then you know just focus on how you are as a dude. Don't worry about
Life lesson.
don't worry about you know don't obsess over your tone, or don't throw a diva hissy fit, because there's no need to do that. You know that's the kind of thing that's going to make it all a nightmare.
Yeah.
I'd rather people make a hell of a load of mistakes, and be really nice and enjoyable company than
Of course.
yeah,
Yes.
than just it's super awesome. And I mean, like I think I was watching a John Schofield interview. He said there's only one exception he's ever known, which is Jaco Pastorius. And that was kind of the exception to the rule. But everyone else,
What? In what?
of be a nice guy, be fun to be around,
Wasn't he?
don't be a jerk. Well, in this John Schofield interview, apparently not.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently,
I never heard anybody say that.
no. I mean, he just said it outright. He said, "This guy counts. I mean, he's a total pain in the ass."
Yeah, but he is the electric bass innovator, bar none. So
He's a maverick, but damn it, he gets results.
yeah. Exactly.
That's Jacko, though, isn't it? That's him.
Yeah. Yes, he has the right. If that is true, he has the right to be that, I guess. I mean, people have egos over lesser accomplishments, right?
Mm. Oh yeah, totally. So absolutely, or no accomplishments.
Yeah.
And no accomplishments whatsoever. They have this imaginary thing that they're going to do, and they draw their sense of ego from that. Or the other thing is they have the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you heard of this?
No, what's that?
So the Dunning-Kruger effect. Do you know what? I'm going to do something quite lame. I'm just going to read off what the Wikipedia is, because I don't want to get this wrong. So I love this. If you probably know what this is, but you haven't heard it put in this way.
Okay.
But oh, bloody stupid internet! It runs so slowly during this streaming. Obviously, uses all the bandwidth. But the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias wherein relatively unskilled individuals suffer from illusory superiority, mistakenly assessing their ability to be much higher than is accurate. This bias is attributed to the metacognitive inability of the unskilled to accurately evaluate their own ability level.
I've run into those people.
So conversely, highly skilled individuals may underestimate their relative competence, erroneously assuming that tasks that are easier than are also easy for others. So I think that's that kind of,
because the more you discover especially about music, right? The more you discover, the more you know, the more you don't know, because like infinite. Like you open one door and there'll be another 12 doors to go through. With each one that you open up,
and that's why it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. But it also makes you. It kind of has that effect that you may think, "Boy, I can't play."
That's a feeling that I just never shake off.
Struggling.
Especially sitting at home playing along to like if I put a backing track on, for example, which I rarely do. And I start playing, I can't feel myself in it. I just don't, I'm not landing in a pocket. And it's not to do with my rhythm or the backing track or the mix between me and the backing track. It's just a space. I don't know what that is.
It actually helps if you go somewhere else to record.
Oh, totally.
Like if you get somebody watching you, I know Tom told me the same. If he's at home, like if I'm recording something, and I guess he's the same, you tend to you want to record something, you just start noodling and practicing, and it takes hours till you hit the record button. And Tom would actually call up a friend of his and have him come over and watch him record it.
That's so
isn't that funny? But I totally catch his drift.
Yeah, and it's not. It kind of just helps you embody the listener, if they're in the room, maybe.
And you don't want to embarrass yourself. That's why I think your awareness level rises considerably.
Yeah, I mean, who's the spectator effect? If to dub it. It really, I've noticed that it really affects me how many people I'm playing in front of. Are they my peers? Are they my superiors? Those kinds of things will affect your performance.
Yes, they did affect my performances in the past a lot, but I've kind of gotten into this idealistic headspace that I don't think of myself and my playing as being important. Which is a lesson that I taught myself over the years. Like, if I fail, what's going to happen?
No one will die.
No one will die. Probably no one will notice. I noticed that people don't notice. If you think you fucked up, that doesn't mean they think you did. And nobody's going to die. You're not a heart surgeon. So
get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's totally true what you say with regard to that. It's just kind of just do it. It's not important.
It's kind of a thing I think of life in general right now, because just don't think of yourself as being so incredibly important. You're just a tiny piece of something in a whole large universe. And I mean, try to be the best you that you can be. Try to be nice to other people, but don't think of yourself as the center of the world or even the universe. Just enjoy your time, man, while you're here. Don't take things so hard.
It's the end of The Meaning of Life, isn't it? The Monty Python movie. The
I haven't
universe
seen
is.
that one. Shame on me.
But sorry for exposing that. I think
Shame.
that's the
We're gonna
scoop.
lose a lot of listeners now.
Yeah, that's the scoop of the day. But yeah, no, it's
Yeah, yeah.
the universe is big, and what happens here is
It's not so relevant.
absolutely.
Try to make it good, but be aware that it's not. If you get on stage or
Mm.
in the studio and you're not at 100%, the world is not going to end.
Yeah, and the thing is as well is that you could play terribly, but you've still sort of done something probably okay for the audience. They've been entertained.
Yeah. Oh, that happened to me so often. They come up and say, "Oh, that was the best I've seen you play," and I just it's that is when that happens, it's so hard to take the compliment because I genuinely don't feel that. But you know what? If people thought that, be happy that you made them happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, we've got so many questions left. Shall we just go
Yeah, I was just about to say
through
that.
them really
Let's.
quickly, like 2-line answers or
Yeah,
something?
totally. So so let's go to the Leonardo Guzman question. So how do you organize your mind to access your vocabulary and licks while improvising in terms of technique, numbers, or intervals?
Well, you want to start?
I'm happy to start with this. I don't know. I don't. I have. How do I organize my mind? Um, when I'm improvising, and I'm not actually, I'm not the best improviser in the world. I'll put
Oh,
that out there.
you are amazing.
Well, far too Kaiser, but the improvising thing, I improvise by trying to just trying to be authentic in the moment and do what I'm hearing, and I take silly risks and try to do stuff I can't really do.
Which is awesome.
That
It makes the performance more daring and exciting.
Yeah, and that's kind of part of the aesthetic that I go for, I
Yeah.
think. So that's kind of my answer. And I try to think of I try to take an aerial view of the solo rather than a sort of microscopic view. And
Yeah.
I try to think in sort of 4-bar, 8-bar chunks, and that's probably as much as the strategy I engage in goes. I try to at least hear my opening phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, super short answer, which really doesn't respect this question because it's so complex. But I think I try to incorporate as many angles as possible, I guess. So I try to use my ears as much as as I can. I try to use the concepts that I've studied. I'm thinking in intervals, yes. I'm trying to use my fretboard knowledge and combine it all together. So it's a more holistic approach.
That's a good way of saying it.
If you target if you target a problem or a task from as many angles as possible, I think you're more likely to succeed.
Yeah, I think that's right. And sometimes you're not always you're firing on all cylinders. You need to bring up reserves. You need to bring up licks.
Absolutely, licks are
Your
awesome.
fallbacks. The fallbacks. Sometimes the brain fails. Sometimes it does, and so you need those things. I think it's.
And some styles are about licks. Like
Yeah.
bebop is so much about licks.
Yeah,
It's
well,
such a specific vocabulary.
the cats call it vocabulary.
Yeah.
But the thing is with that, it's that's playing within a tradition as well, like gypsy jazz.
Oh yes, gypsy jazz is very much about licks, and
Yeah, so
and there's, I mean, there's no judgment in this
no,
by saying it's very much about licks and vocabularies. No, it's just how the music is has come about.
yeah, and to really quickly just sort of shoehorn this idea that I try to get across to some of my students, which is the idea of mileage, and that certain things have more mileage than others. And I say that if you get great pocket, and if you get a really good sense of the important notes, and when I say the important notes, I mean the ones that are just going to work. The important ones are probably the more tense ones. So I'm probably using a really slack terminology there. But if you really sort out your meter and your pocket, your sense of rhythm,
you can get away with a lot of.
You can basically, once you've got that down, you can just play. You really don't have to do anything particularly flashy with notes. You just play, because when you sort of refine the meat and potatoes, then they are sufficient.
Yeah.
And that's my view of guitar playing in general. Actually, I'm obsessed by speed and flashiness in my own way, because I like that. I like the texture of it. But I would sort of preach, if you like, that that simplicity is sufficient in and of itself. But if it's not there, if that rhythm is not there in that player, then that's not, it's not as valuable. So should we move on after that? Slight juxtaposition. So what's the next one? So just looked at Leonardo's. Andreas Erd. Am I pronouncing?
Hello, Andreas.
Andreas Erd. Is it Erd or Erd?
He's awesome. Awesome young player from Austria.
Oh, cool. I think I might have seen something on YouTube.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah. I knew that's going to come out. Anyway, so here's the question. What's your opinion on playing well-paid gigs versus playing gigs that you really enjoy, but don't pay the bills? Do you want to?
I like them both. I like well-paid gigs, and I like gigs that I really enjoy. There's nothing wrong with either, I think.
Oh, there's totally nothing wrong with either. But I would say that it really depends on your situation. I don't have children. I have. Well, actually, I've got pretty bad outgoings. In many respects, life is not cheap in where I am. And so it really depends. Sometimes the choice is made for you by the circumstances. But I would say that it's good to sometimes prioritize towards an overall goal, which has been something that I've been bad at. So like saying no to something that will maybe help me in the long run just because I need an extra couple of £100 to pay my rent.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I said earlier, because I was really poor for a while when I graduated from college, and I made the conscious decision to accept that and work on my music and work on my career and my exposure, etc. And now, luckily, I'm in the position where I can say no to gigs that I don't like or don't want to play, because the ones that stick with you and the ones that enhance your life and your memories, they are really the ones that you enjoy, right?
Oh yeah, totally. And I mean, I've had transcendent experiences gigging, and memories of incredible gigs. Even when I've been doing like pop session stuff, getting to sort of jump on stage with Chic and just dance around like a lunatic in front of hundreds of thousands of people. That was an insane thing. Or just sort of going on TV for the first time.
Yeah,
that was really good fun, and it was really different. Even.
I mean, there's barely a gig that I don't really enjoy. You're still, even if it's a paid thing and you're a hired gun, I mean, you're on stage playing a piece of wood with wires on it. I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And again, it's this whole thing of just sort of stepping back and going, hey, whoa, I'm doing something that I not just enjoy, but that is an intrinsic part of my life. And you can't tear that away. I looked at my phone book recently, I looked at my phone book recently, and it turns out that the only person who wasn't a musician who'd called me for about 2 months was my nan. Yeah, and it was ridiculous. But they were my friends.
Yeah, but they're all kind of related musically.
Yeah, and that's kind of, that might be a bit sad in many ways, but it's just the way it works out.
Actually, in recent months, I was actually spending a lot more time with people who have really nothing to do with music, or just consumers maybe or something, which is awesome, because going out and not talking about guitar even once, it can be a very refreshing thing.
Yeah, totally. And I kind of got that on a personal level when I was teaching, and it was music related. That kind of thing was really important for me. But I like the human contact, and I like the freshness of the student's approach.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but I think that's pretty much done that question. Thanks, Andreas. I'll have to check out his stuff, man.
Yeah,
Martin
he's
Lewis is good.
fucking mental. You really got a I really got a kick out of him when he played at Musikmesse this year.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to do that trade show thing. I'm thinking of doing NAMM in January. I've got a bit of
Yeah, you
time
should.
off.
I'm going as well.
Are you really? Oh,
Yeah.
nice one. We'll maybe get to meet in person.
Yeah, which
That'll be.
would be funny, because I mean, the first time we meet, we don't live that far away from each other, you know. The first time we meet is going to be in London.
Yeah, miles away. Yeah, it's typical though, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
So, let's make this the last question and then call it a day. You've been really
Absolutely.
generous with your time, man. I just want to quickly thank you.
Oh, it's fine. I
With
like
that.
having good conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it's been. I think it's been good fun. I've enjoyed it. I think people in the chat have enjoyed it. I hope the people who check it out afterwards get a kick out of it.
Sure,
Even,
I'm up for doing it more often.
yeah, man. Well,
It's
I'm
cool. I
hoping
like
to
it.
think about bringing in groups, groups of people to talk about maybe a subject. But I do like the I do like the sort of one-on-one thing a lot. I think the group thing can get a bit noisy, so you have to sort of be careful how you manage it. But I'm new to this, so I'm a total novice when it comes to
Three people
hosting.
shouldn't be too bad, I think.
Yeah,
Like if you put one more guy in, should be somewhat possible.
yeah. Well, that, and I think it's. Oh, I like the kind of in profile thing, to sort of get to know someone a bit more as a person. I like that, and rather than just sort of knowing their opinions on certain things. I mean, even though we've kind of done that today, but I think it's a nice opportunity to do something different, and it's good fun. I'm enjoying the stuff in the chat as well. So I just want to thank the guys in the chat quickly for helping us do this. Obviously, no one would want to do anything if no one was going to listen. So this last question comes from Pedro Miranda. Sorry if I've butchered that pronunciation as well. How do you break down your practice time? Little chunks, study categories, topics, short and long-term objectives, etc. And a nice winky smiley at the end.
Which is good.
Yeah,
keeps a good vibe.
Is he flirting with us?
I think he is.
Yeah, man. Okay, yeah, I dig it.
You know what? For me, this may sound a bit stupid. I have no practice regime whatsoever. I just practice whatever I feel like in that moment. Because you know why? From my experience, I only really absorb things when I enjoy doing them. The question is, when do I enjoy doing things, or what things do I enjoy? I only enjoy things that I know are helpful for me in that very moment. And they're gonna bring me closer to my goals. For example, I was a terrible student in college, because my teacher would tell me, you're gonna transcribe this John Scofield solo, and then I like on rhythm changes or whatever, and I would take it home, transcribe the first couple notes, and jam a little on a rhythm changes, and then it's how awful my time is. And for the next 3 hours, I would just work on time feel, and that I would do that for the entire week, and I would really get better at it. But I didn't do the transcript because I felt so strongly in that moment that I had to sort out the other thing first because it's gonna bring me closer to where I want to be.
Yeah, and it's that
So
goal orientated sort of practice regime, which is very
it
intuitive.
depends. Like if I have a gig, like if I have the dev coming up, that is very goal oriented practice. Okay, I need to relearn this song. I need to learn to improvise over this section. I need to do this, that. And the day it was just intrinsic. It was just doing it for the sake of doing it because I wanted to become a better player.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
I knew I was lacking in that department, so I better put some time into it. And even if it wasn't what was assigned to me, because I know myself better than anyone else, right? So I felt very strongly about having to do the other thing, and then I would do it, and because it was important to me, I would absorb it faster.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying there.
And
you kind of have Sorry, go on.
Sorry, there's a little lag going on here.
Yeah, I think your connection's deteriorating a bit, or it might be mine. But I would say
probably mine.
I would say that the whole thing for me with practicing is that do you know what I when I was at Berkeley I had a peer called Alex Hahn. Alex is the saxophonist in the Marcus Miller band. God, I nearly got that wrong.
Yeah, the young guy with the...
Yeah. So we were playing.
Oh my God, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, we just do like jamming with him was just incredible. But I noticed how much he'd practice, and I noticed how much he would be sort of dedicated and single-mindedly sort of working on this stuff. And that was really inspiring to me. And he said something which was, it was to do with the nature of practice itself. And I don't really know that, that you can practice badly, but I think you've got to back yourself to know you're practicing the right things after a certain point. We can go into more detail, but just a short answer. I think his thing was, if I haven't practiced for the day before and I have a gig or I'm playing in front of people, I know I haven't. I know I'm not firing.
Definitely.
But if I haven't practiced for 2 days, and then I go out, I think the rest of my band know. And if I haven't practiced for 3 days, I think the audience can tell. And I think that's the thing. It's just kind of about, after a certain level, it's kind of maintenance, keeping up your chops. And and in many other ways, it is about just being with your instrument and being fluent. And that takes a long bloody time. It takes a really long time. And it takes a concerted effort. And it takes disciplined study. But what I won't say is that what I try to say to people who are obsessed with regime and stuff is, well, first off, the best thing you can do is to pick the guitar up. That sometimes is the hardest bit, because there's you're worried, well, if I pick up the guitar, what am I going to do? No, just pick it up, play something, stick Netflix on, enjoy yourself. Don't worry so much about it. It all helps, and there are these things go in waves. Every so often I get into a regime and I'm like, well, look, I'm really interested in this Bach partita, or I really want to sort of get inside what Pat Metheny's doing in this solo, and I do some sort of concerted practice where I improve a lot. But I think there's also other things that you can do that aren't necessarily goal orientated, like you were saying earlier, but they help build the bond with the instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any time spent on the instrument, I mean, how's that gonna make your playing worse?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're totally right, and it's just about sort of sitting there and.
However, I think, you need to get certain stuff sorted out. For example, like if you're fairly adept at playing the guitar technically, but you have no idea how you are supposed to play over changes, there's no way around learning how to play chord tones. And that is sheer and utter practice.
Yeah.
And if you're not enjoying it, it's kind of torture. I don't think it is torture because I enjoy deciphering the fretboard and finding stuff. I think it's like a puzzle.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I have the
but
same
there's
thing.
no way there's no way you're going to learn certain things you put unless you put specific work into it.
And I would also say that there's no way that you're going to translate that into anything meaningful unless you're um, unless you're comfortable playing in front of people. In many ways, I mean, just coming at it from a live point of view, obviously there might be, the recording and creation and composing thing is actually just as valid. To caveat it, but it's really important to sort of just get out there and see how it all works, to play with other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, playing and hanging and chatting with other musicians. I mean, it teaches you so many things that you can't get from sitting at home and honing your chops or whatever.
Absolutely.
With that said, I still think you need a certain amount of discipline. There are certain points in music and practice and guitar playing that you need to have covered and that you need to put time into if you want to achieve certain things. No,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna learn how to play jazz if you're a blues player and you want to learn how to play jazz. You can play as many jazz gems as you want unless you've learned how the music functions and how you translate that onto your instrument. You're not going to be able to hang with those people.
Absolutely, and especially if that's what you want to do, but and on that note, we should maybe wrap this up.
Absolutely.
It's been utterly fascinating, Martin. I just want to thank you so much
Thanks for having me, man.
coming on, and
Especially being the first guy on the show. That's quite an honor.
well, no, it's it was totally calculated on my part, obviously. But, there we go. I'm hoping to do this again very shortly, but there's going to be no schedule. It'll be as and when,
Sure.
because obviously, with the theatre stuff coming up, I'm going to be out of the game for long stretches.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, it would be great to sort of do this again. Maybe deal with some other sort of topics.
Absolutely.
And get other people in and all that sort of thing. So the maiden voyage is now done.
Cool.
Which is really nice. I
Buy
just
my
want to say,
album, everyone.
yeah. Oh man, yeah, yeah. Well, and also, I sit there on the Jam Track Central, the members area stuff. I sit there looking at your licks. That's a really valuable thing that people should go and do. The sort of because the 20 lick packages that you make are unbelievably good. So
Thanks.
sort of check those things out as well, and just generally, we're
I'm just going to post the
engaged.
link to my website. You can find all the info there if anyone cares to check it out.
Please do. And yeah, and on that note, thank you very much. Thank you to all the guys in the chat. You've helped us out. It's great to know that people are watching, especially you guys. I kind of, when we're having this conversation, Martin, I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like, you mentioned it then, but we don't need to have the guys here are so good at playing their instruments. We kind of don't need to talk about that stuff. We kind of take that for granted.
But everyone has their angle and their points of views, so it's
yeah, totally. But so there we go. Let's wrap that up. Thanks, guys. I'll see you at some point. Thanks for listening to the very first Neck Profile podcast live stream thing. And again, thank you, Martin, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, listeners. Bye bye. Love you all.
Much love. Bye bye.